What's going on, Commanders Nation? Welcome back to another episode of the Income Man podcast. And today we are going to be recapping the Washington Commanders versus the Jacksonville Jaguars. We got the dub. It is officially Victory Monday. Now I was not able to make a recap video yesterday. I was just too busy. My dad is currently editing my videos at the time, and he didn't have enough time to do all that stuff. But we're finally getting this recap video out. Today we're going to be going over the studs and duds, who stood out yesterday and who you kind of disappointed and didn't play very well. Let's just get straight into it. So the Washington Commanders took a dub. It was a tight game. It was not an easy win by any means. Now it was 14-3 at halftime, and I'm like, this is going pretty smooth. This is looking pretty easy for the Commanders. Carson Wentz looks really good. But then the Jaguars came back in the second half. They took a 22-14 lead. They scored 19 unanswered points. But luckily, Carson Wentz threw a beautiful 50-yard touchdown to Terry McLaurin. And then he had a game-winning touchdown to Johan Dotson on a 3rd and 8 with about 150 left. And then the Commanders, Forrest was able to get the game-stealing interception. So that was, I feel like this team always has to give me a heart attack, no matter what. I thought this was going to be a smooth win, but it wasn't. I had football practice from like 3 to 4 in the pouring down rain, but luckily I was able to watch like the last 8 minutes of the game. So I watched the first half, then I missed like the whole third quarter and some of the fourth, and I was able to get home for the game-winning drive, which I'm glad that I was home. So let's get into studs and duds real quick. So my honorable mentions, I'm going to have 5 studs and 5 duds for the Washington Commanders. So my honorable mention goes out to Carson Wentz. Now, Carson Wentz played pretty good in my opinion yesterday. He had 4 touchdowns, but he also did throw 2 interceptions on back-to-back drives, which was a little concerning, but he responded really well. After those 2 interceptions, he was able to throw 2 touchdowns on back-to-back drives, so he kind of made up for the interceptions. And another honorable mention is going to go out to Terry McLaurin. Terry McLaurin, he played good yesterday. He had a 50-yard touchdown catch, and he had a crucial first down. He wasn't as involved as he usually is yesterday, but he's also getting more. You gotta remember, he's also getting a lot more of attention now. The defenses are starting to really focus on him as our number 1 guy on offense. But that led to Curtis Samuel absolutely going off and Johan Dotson having two touchdowns. So I'm perfectly fine with that. We just gotta try to get the ball to Terry more. But yeah, those are my 2 honorable mentions. Number 5, I'm going to go with Antonio Gibson. He was an absolute stud yesterday in the running game and in the receiving game. Antonio Gibson had 7 catches for 72 yards yesterday. He got me 20 points in fantasy football as my flex. Unfortunately, my fantasy football team did not look good yesterday. I got crushed. But Antonio Gibson looked great yesterday. In the receiving game, he had 7 catches for 72 yards. And then in the running game, he had 14 carries for 58 yards and averaged 4.1 yards a carry. So and most importantly, no fumbles for Antonio Gibson yesterday. So I was really glad to see Antonio Gibson hold on to the football and do what he does. And I think Antonio Gibson is not a legit back. He didn't get a whole lot of carries yesterday. I think that's just how it's going to be, and that's going to be the future for Antonio Gibson because this team doesn't trust Antonio Gibson. They don't trust him enough to give him 30 carries a game. I'm sorry, they just don't. But Antonio Gibson is still getting a huge part in this offense because he's so dynamic in the receiving game. And we gotta remember, this dude was a wide receiver in college. So I think they're going to treat him more as that. And I think when Brian Robinson comes back, he'll be the legit running back. And there's no problem with that. We can just rotate Gibson and McKissick and have B-Rob be our full-time back. Maybe bring Gibson in. So, we're not going to bring him in to run that much. We'll probably bring him in on like 3rd down. But other than that, when B-Rob comes back, that's pretty much it. So Antonio Gibson is my number 5 stud. My number 4 stud is Forrest. Forrest absolutely balled out at safety yesterday. Now I said in my preview that I was worried about Cam Curl being out. I was worried, I thought that was going to be a big loss for the secondary, but Forrest went right in and he stepped up big time. I mean, he put an absolute amazing, that was one of the best hits I've seen in a while. He absolutely put it on James Robinson. He made him fumble all the way back to the 19-yard line. I mean, he caught the ball, and Derek Forrest, I mean, he looked like Sean Taylor out there with that hit. I mean, that hit really reminded me of Sean Taylor. And then he got the game-winning interception. And overall, Derek Forrest was just all over the place getting tackles. Even when he got beat, he still made a really good tackle. The hit was awesome, and the interception, that was a great job of him to get his feet down and seal the game for us. So Derek Forrest is not my number 4 stud. My number 3 stud, I gotta give it to Curtis Samuel. Curtis Samuel was absolutely amazing yesterday. I mean, the dude balled out. I mean, he was making the Jaguars, he made them look silly. He was juking them out of their socks. I mean, there's this one catch he had. He caught the ball, he went skirt, and he just absolutely put the defenders on the damn ground. That was amazing to see. Curtis Samuel had 8 catches for 55 yards, a touchdown. Now, the thing that I do want to talk about is he did have a fumble, which kind of gave the Jaguars some momentum. We were up 14-3, and we were at the Jaguars like 40-yard line, so we were ready to score another touchdown. But Curtis Samuel fumbled, and that gave them the ball. Now I don't think that they drove down the field when the Jaguars that drive. Now I think that's the drive where we ended up. I think they ended up missing a field goal there, or maybe they didn't. Or maybe they didn't get it on 4th down. I think that's the drive where they missed a field goal, like a 37-yarder. But that was crucial because Curtis Samuel, I mean, if he doesn't fumble that ball, right, he probably gets like 6-7 yards. So we're moving to 2nd and 3. We probably get a touchdown on the drive, and it's probably 21-3. And this is a whole different ball game, and this is not even close, and we don't have to worry about it. But instead, Curtis Samuel fumbles, and he keeps the Jaguars in this football game. But other than that, I mean, Curtis Samuel was great. I mean, I don't think people realize how important it is that we got Curtis Samuel back healthy. I mean, this is one of the best wide receiver trios in the league. I mean, Terry, Johan, and Curtis. It's lethal, and this offense can be nasty. We have top 10 potential if we can just play like this every week. So I just named 3 studs. We got 2 more. My number 2 stud is gonna go to the Rook, the one and only Johan Dotson. Jahan absolutely balled out in his rookie debut. I love what I've seen from the kid. He has amazing hands. I mean, arguably better than Terry's. And I can see why people were hyping this man up in preseason and in training camp. And a lot of people are saying this man can be just as good as Terry. And I believe that. I know it's one game, but if he can play like this and keep improving, I mean, he's got all the talent in the world. So Jahan Dotson balled out. He had 2 touchdowns in his rookie debut. The first one was a really nice ball from Carson, a good catch by Jahan. And the second one, 3rd and 8, 150 left. We need, if we didn't get that, then the Jaguars only have to drive down and get a field goal. But instead, Carson Wentz put it on Jahan, put it where it needed to be, and Jahan made an amazing catch, which led to a game-winning touchdown. So Jahan had 3 catches for 40 yards and 2 touchdowns. He was terrific, man. Jahan was amazing, and he should have had even more yards. Because the first play of the game, Carson Wentz missed Jahan. Jahan was butt naked. I mean, wide open for like 20 yards, and it would have been more. He probably could have had like 30, 35 yards if Carson Wentz puts it on him, but Carson Wentz threw it way over him. Jahan almost caught it, but he just bobbled it and he couldn't bring it down. So, yeah, that's my number 2 stud. And my number 1 stud, I'm going to give it to Jonathan Allen. And I'm going to give it to Jonathan Allen because the dude, he was amazing yesterday. I mean, obviously, he's coming off a Pro Bowl season. I believe he had a sack, and he was just all around getting a ton of pressure, and the dude just balled out. So give it up for Jonathan Allen. All right, now we got to go to the negatives. We got to get to the duds. My first dud, I got to go with William Jackson III. And the reason I say that is because William Jackson III was getting burnt. Christian Kirk made him look silly yesterday. William Jackson was getting burnt. Now, William Jackson, he got absolutely toasted in the end zone. It should have been a walk-in touchdown for Travis Etienne, but I believe Trevor Lawrence overthrew him, and we ended up, thankfully, holding them to a field goal that drive, but that should have been a walk-in touchdown. William Jackson got cooked on that play. There's a bunch of other plays where he got cooked, and he got lucky. I think this other play, I think Marvin Jones Jr. cooked him. but Trevor Lawrence underthrew him, and we ended up getting off the field. But William Jackson, he's got to tighten this up because when we play better quarterbacks, they're going to make him pay for that, and they're going to make good throws to their wide receivers, and he's going to be giving up touchdown after touchdown. So I feel like he didn't look as bad as he should have yesterday because of Trevor Lawrence, and people didn't really, take him into account. But like, if that's, I don't know, if that's Brady, let me come up with a decent quarterback. That's Kirk Cousins. Who do we play? Dak. We don't play. We thankfully don't have to play Dak week 4 because he's hurt. But like a lot of quarterbacks are gonna make that throw to Travis Etienne, and you just can't have that with William Jackson III. So he got beat. So he's my number 5 stud. My number 4 dud, I'm gonna give it to. Unfortunately, I'm gonna have to go with Jamin Davis. I'm sorry, but Jamin Davis disappointed yesterday. Now he did have 1 sack, but it got waved off because I forget the pen. I think it was like a legal hands to the face, but the sack that he got did not count. And Jamin Davis, he's just not. He didn't look any better yesterday. He didn't really do much and wasn't good in coverage. So he's my number 4 dud. My number 3 dud. Let's see. I'm gonna. Most of these are on D. I'm gonna go number 3. I'm gonna go Kendall Fuller. Kendall Fuller. I think he's the most overrated player on this roster. I mean, he's just terrible in September. Like he looks like one of the worst corners in the league in September. But there's times, you know, after September, he looks like a top 15 corner and a pretty good corner. But yesterday we got the bad version of Kendall Fuller, and he looked terrible. He was getting beats like crazy. Christian Kirk beat him a lot. And so he's my number 3 dud. My number 2 dud. Honestly, I think I'm going to go with another defensive player. I'm going to have to go with Cole Holcomb. We just didn't get a good version out of him yesterday. He's supposed to be the best linebacker on this team, and he's supposed to, kind of carry our linebacking core. He just didn't look good. He was missing tackles, bad in coverage, and he just didn't make an impact. He didn't make those big tackles that we needed him to make. He just was not good yesterday, and I was a little disappointed in Cole Holcomb. So he's got to step it up, man. He's got to be much better. He's got to be much better, man, because him playing like that is just not gonna cut it. All right, and number 1, I'm gonna go with the whole run defense. Yeah, that's right. I'm not gonna pick a player for number 1 because I couldn't come up with a player. But as a whole, the run defense was bad yesterday. We gave up 123 rushing yards. That's 38 more than we had. This running defense, it was 8th in the league last year. We were top 10. But yesterday, the run defense was bad. James Robinson was running all over us. So I was disappointed in that. So my number 1 dud is the run defense as a whole. So we got into studs and duds. Now it's time to get into player stats. Starting off with the quarterbacks, Carson Wentz was 27 of 41, 313 yards, 4 touchdown passes, and 2 interceptions. So I'm gonna kind of recap Carson Wentz's performance. So we're gonna kind of go over. I already went over. I think most of the receiver stat. I went over McLaurin, Curtis, Logan, and Johan. But there's some players that I need to get into. It's mainly just Carson Wentz and J.D. McKissic, if y'all don't mind. But Carson Wentz was 27 of 41, 313 yards, 4 TDs, and 2 interceptions. So I'm gonna recap how he played yesterday. I thought he looked really good in the first half. He threw 2 touchdown passes. Our first 2 drives, I believe. And I was like, this dude's looking amazing. He's making all the throws. There's, really just, 1 or 2 bad throws that he made. But other than that, he's looking pretty much perfect. But then, he started to slow down a little bit. And in the third quarter, he was really bad. He threw 2 picks. But he did end up bouncing back and throwing a clutch 50-yard touchdown to Terry. And then a clutch touchdown on 3rd and 8 to Johan Dotson to win the game. So, Carson Wentz, I think it was up and down for him. But I think it was more on the good side. I think I'll take 4 touchdowns. I think, the 4 touchdowns kind of overrules the 2 interceptions. So I give Carson Wentz the benefit of the doubt. A grade on his performance, I'm going to give him a B+. I think if he just had limited that to one interception, it's an A plus. But two interceptions is just too much. He can't do that every game. He needs to cut it down. But now Trevor Lawrence for the Jags was 24-42, 275 yards, a TD, and an interception. I thought the first drive, Trevor Lawrence was cutting us up a little bit, and in the third quarter, I thought the defense was solid on him. They could have been better. And the Jaguars also miss a lot of opportunities, with drops, overthrows on easy plays. But overall, wasn't bad on Trevor Lawrence. Could have been better, but I'm not complaining. So who do we have here? So I just did Carson. J.D. McKissick had 3 catches for 20 yards. He was just really efficient. We didn't use him a whole lot, but I just thought J.D. did his part. He's one of the best third down backs in football, and he played his role today. So I was happy with J.D. McKissick. Now we're gonna get into team stats. That's what I meant to get into. So we've done studs and duds. We've done player stats. Now it's time to get into team stats. All right. So first we got total yards for the offenses. The Jaguars had 383 yards. We had 390. For rushing yards, the Jaguars had, what did they have? They had 260. We had 300 and 305. First downs, we had 26 first downs. The Jaguars had 24. The Jaguars had 24 first downs. We had 26, so we edged them out there. So far, we've edged them out in total yards, offense, and in first downs. Third down conversions, the Jaguars were 3 of 12, which is 25%. We were 7 of 10. So that was a big difference there. Third down defense, that was one of my keys to us winning this game. We held the Jaguars to just 3 of 12 on third down, which is really good. They only converted 25% of their third downs. We converted 70%. Sacks, the Jaguars had 1 sack. We had 2 sacks. I believe one was by Jonathan Allen, and I'm not sure who the other one was by. The punts, Jags punted 3 times. We punted 3 times. Penalties, the Jaguars had 13 penalties for 90 yards, which did kind of kill them. We had 6 penalties for 63 yards. And time we controlled the time of possession. The Jaguars had 27 minutes and 3 seconds time of possession. We had 32 minutes and 57 seconds, so basically 33 minutes of time possession. So we basically had we had the ball for 6 more minutes than the Jaguars did, which is really good. That's how you win football games. You control the clock, and that's how you win. So we went over studs and duds, player stats, team stats. I mean, we went over a lot of stuff. But I want to talk about the NFC East real quick. I want to talk about what's been going on. So the Giants won yesterday by 1 point. That game was crazy. Now I didn't get to see it because it wasn't on TV. I think they may have showed it on Red Zone the last minute, but I'm not sure. But the Titans missed a field goal and the Giants ended up winning. The Eagles ended up beating the Lions 38-35, and then the Dallas Cowboys stuck up the joint last night against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They looked awful. They lost 19-3. Dak looked awful. I can't wait to see the Dak defenders, these Cowboy fans in here defending Dak like he's something. Dak's not getting the Cowboys anywhere. The Cowboys lost 19-3. Dak was terrible. He was 14 of 29. Awful. The only bright spot for the Cowboys was probably Micah Parsons, but honestly, the Cowboys, dude, we get to play the good thing is we get to play the Cowboys week 4 without Dak Prescott. So we're going to be playing Cooper Rush week 4, man. I cannot wait for that. It's going to be like 2020 where they had Andy Dalton. We're going to beat them by 25. I'm excited for that. So yeah, the Cowboys, the Eagles. I mean, honestly, I think it's down to us and the Eagles at this point because Cowboys look shitty even with Dak. So even with Dak, I still think we could smoke them. But now that they don't have Dak for 6 to 8 weeks, they're in trouble. So let's say they don't have Dak for 6 games. I think they go 2-5. That's what I have them at. And if it's for 8 games, probably 3-6, maybe 2-7. So yeah, the Cowboys, their receiving core is trash, awful. Even, without CeeDee Lamb, they would be one of the worst in the league. But their only receiver that have a CD right now, I know they're gonna get Michael Gallup back, but is he gonna make that big of a difference? I don't think he is. So it's down to us and the Eagles. By the way, I will be going to the Washington Commanders versus Philadelphia Eagles Week 3 game. I can't wait for that. We're going to be pulling up to FedEx Field, the dump, as I like to call it. But I'm excited, man. I should be sitting club level. We should have a good view of the game. Probably going to vlog that for you guys. I can't wait, man. I'm ready to cut up the Eagles. They've been talking shit. They think they got the East on locks now because the Cowboys. They thought them and the Cowboys were gonna be the only ones contending for the East. It's between us and the Eagles, and we're gonna show the damn Eagles what we're about week 3. But I can't wait. Let's go, man. We got the Detroit Lions on Sunday. Next Sunday. Can't wait for that. I'll probably have, a video out probably Wednesday or Thursday previewing the Lions when we play the Washington Commanders versus the Lions. But that's about it. That's about all I got. Thank you guys so much for watching. This is a great recap. But thank y'all so much for watching. Y'all also so much support on our first video. We got like 50 views. And we already got six subscribers. So we're going a lot faster than I was on my old channel. I think you guys like these videos a lot more than my old channel. But thank you guys so much for watching. And I'll see you in the next one. Peace.